Good morning, CCSP. Today is Friday, February 12th, 2021. It is a period 6 to 10 day. It's also National No One Eats Alone Day. Now, normally, if we were on campus, we would utilize this day to make sure that during lunchtime that none of our classmates were eating alone. But because of the situation and we cannot be together, perhaps we could just alter it just a little bit. And maybe today, during your lunchtime or dinner time, you could make sure that you share a meal with someone special to you. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, boys and girls, today look a little further into our book, Song of the Trees, as we highlight our African American author, Mildred D. Taylor. Now, the last time we heard that Mr. Anderson was planning on chopping down all of the beautiful trees that were in the Logan's backyard. Now, that worries me because I know that Mama is there by herself because if you recall, Papa is working on the railroad. So let's see how this plays out. I'll go talk to the old woman. He looked up at the sky. We can almost get a full day's work in if we hurry. Mr. Anderson turned to walk away, but Tom stopped him. Mr. Anderson, you really gonna chop all the trees? If I need to. These folks ain't got no call for them. I do. I got me a good contract for these trees and I aim to fulfill it. Tom watched Mr. Anderson walk away. Then, looking sorrowfully up at the trees, he shook his head and disappeared into the depths of the forest. What we gonna do, Stacy? I asked anxiously. They can't just cut down our trees, can they? I don't know. Papa's gone, Stacy muttered to himself, trying to decide what we should do next. Boy, if Papa was here, them old white men wouldn't be messing with our trees, little man declared. Yeah, Christopher John agreed. Just let Papa get hold of 'em and he gonna turn 'em every which way but loose. Christopher John, man, Stacy finally said, go get the cows and take them home. But we just brought them down here, little man protested. And we gotta pick the berries for dinner, said Christopher John mournfully. No time for that now. Hurry up and stay clear of them white men. Cassie, you come with me. We ran, brown legs and feet flying high through the still forest. By the time Stacy and I arrived at the house, Mr. Anderson's car was already parked in the dusty drive. Mr. Anderson himself was seated comfortably in Papa's rocker on the front porch. Big Ma was seated too, but Mama was standing. Stacy and I eased quietly to the side of the porch unnoticed. $65. That's an awful lot of money in these hard times, Aunt Caroline, Mr. Anderson was saying to Big Ma. I could see Mama's thin face harden. You know, Mr. Anderson said, rocking familiarly in Papa's chair, that's more than David can send home in 2 months. We do quite well on what David sends home, Mama said coldly. Mr. Anderson stopped rocking. I suggest you encourage Aunt Caroline to sell them trees, Mary. You know, David might not always be able to work so good. He could possibly have an accident. Big Ma's soft brown eyes clouded over with fear as she looked first at Mr. Anderson, then at Mama. But Mama clenched her fist and said, in Mississippi, black men do not have accidents. Hush, child, hush, Big Ma said hurriedly. How many trees for $65, Mr. Anderson? Enough till I figure I got my $65 worth. And how many would that be? Mama persisted. Mr. Anderson looked haughtily at Mama. I said I'd be the judge of that, Mary. I think not, Mama said. Mr. Anderson stared at Mama, and Mama stared back at him. Ooh, this Mama is a tough one. I knew Mr. Anderson didn't like that, but Mama did it anyway. Mr. Anderson soon grew uneasy under that piercing gaze, and when his eyes swiftly shifted from Mama to Big Ma, his face was beet red. Caroline, he said, his voice low and menacing, you're the head of this family, and you've got a decision to make. Now, I need them trees, and I mean to have them. I've offered you a good price for them, and I ain't gonna haggle over it. I know y'all can use the money. Doc Thomas tells me that Mary's not well. He hesitated a moment, then hissed venomously, and if something should happen to David. All right, Big Ma said, her voice trembling. All right, Mr. Anderson. No, Big Ma, I cried, leaping onto the porch. You can't let them cut our trees. Mr. Anderson grasped the arms of the rocker, his knuckles chalk white. You certainly ain't taught none of your youngins how to behave, Caroline, he said curtly. You children go on back, Mama said, shooing us away. No, Mama, Stacy said. He's going to cut them all down. Me and Cassie heard him say so in the woods. I won't let them cut them, I threatened. I won't let him. The trees are my friends, and I ain't no mean old white man going to touch my trees. Mama's hands went roughly around my body as she carried me off to my room. Now hush, she said, her dark eyes flashing wildly. I've told you how dangerous it is. She broke off in mid-sentence. She stared at me a moment, then hugged me tightly and went back to the porch. Stacy joined me a few seconds later, and we sat there in the heat of the quiet room, listening miserably as the first whack of an axe echoed against the trees. That night, I was awakened by soft sounds outside my window. I reached for Big Ma, but she wasn't there. Hurrying to the window, I saw Mama and Big Ma standing in the yard in their night clothes, and Stacy, fully dressed, sitting atop Lady, our golden mare. By the time I got outside, Stacy was gone. Mama, where's Stacy? I cried. Be quiet, Cassie. You'll wake Christopher John and Little Man. But where's he going? He's going to get Papa, Mama said. Now be quiet. Go on, Stacy boy, I whispered. Ride for me too. As the dust billowed after him, Mama said, I should have gone myself. He's so young. But Ma put her arm around Mama. Now, Mary, you know you couldn't have gone. Mr. Anderson would miss you if he'd come by and see you ain't here. You done right now. Don't worry. That boy'll be just fine. 3 days passed, hot and windless. Mama forbade any of us to go into the forest, so Christopher John, Little Man, and I spent the slow, restless days hovering as close to the dusty road as we dared, listening to the foreign sounds of steel against the trees and the thunderous roar of those ancient loved ones as they crashed upon the earth. Sometimes Mama would scold us and tell us to come back to the house, but even she could not ignore the continuous pounding of the axes against the trees, or the sight of the loaded lumber wagons rolling out of the forest. In the middle of washing or ironing or hoeing, she would look up sorrowfully and listen, and then turn towards the road, searching for some sign of Papa and Stacy. On the 4th day, before the sun had risen, bringing its cloak of miserable heat, I saw her walking alone toward the woods. I ran after her. She did not send me back. Mama, I said, how sick are you? Mama took my hand. Remember when you had the flu and felt sick? So it looks like Cassie's going to find out maybe what's going on with Mama. And I wonder if they're going to be able to find Papa and what he's going to say to Mr. Anderson. We'll have to tune in on Monday to check it out. Boys and girls, you may have noticed all the love pouring out of my head. Well, that's because Sunday is Valentine's Day. So, my heart is filled with all kinds of love for all of you. We at CCSP are a family, and I want to wish our family happy Valentine's Day. Also, remember, Monday is President's Day, so there is no school on Monday. Well, have a fabulous Friday, CCSP, a loving Valentine's Day, and enjoy your extra day off. And remember, be kind, always.